In this chapter, I will help you develop a system for organizing your work in paper. I will show you some simple tips and tricks for how you can add extra levels to make organizing more sophisticated. But the essential thing is that you reflect on what your needs really are. One thing I discovered after using paper intensively for 2 weeks was that I would create lots of very raw, quick drafts, but I would also create elaborate and thoughtful reflection pieces. However, these would get buried in the heaps of quick drafts. In paper, you have only 2 levels of organization: books and pages. You can have as many books as you want, and each book can hold unlimited pages. Both books and pages can be reorganized in sequence. When I started using paper, I had just one notebook, mimicking how I'd work with the physical notebook. In my physical notebook, my hands can usually remember if the note I'm looking for is in the beginning, middle, or end of the book. But without this tactile feedback, this was impossible. My more important notes would get lost in the mess, and I would spend time flipping back and forth and back and forth and back and forth trying to find that note. I realized that I would have to come up with a more mindful way of organizing my pages. The next thing I tried was to create many books for all kinds of projects and ideas, thinking it would make it easier for me to find back to my important notes. But many of these notebooks had just one page or maybe a few, and I had to scroll sideways, back and forth, trying to find the right book. Eventually, I began developing a balance where I will start with the new project as a page in one big draft book. But if the project grows and becomes more significant, I will move those pages into a new book. That way, I have ended up with a number of books that each have enough pages and logical consistency to help me find what I'm looking for. Here's what you can do. Ask yourself, what are the overall categories of information you would want to record in paper? Work, art, journal, projects, tasks, your kids. Then you can try to map it onto paper's 2 organizational levels and see how it fits best. Does it make sense to have one book for all your work and just each page to track a given work project? Maybe you can have a book for journal, and each page is a day in your journal. You may also want to only have work in paper and use one book per work project, or one book per child and lots of notes per child. It's up to you. Alright, enough thinking. Let me show you a little hack that I like. If you look at my notebook for this ebook, I have created these tab kind of pages to organize the 90 pages I have into sections. I could of course have created a new book for each module and each chapter, but I felt that I would end up with too many notebooks, so I decided to put all the pages in just one and then make these sections. The way I did it was like this. I first made this raw template without text. Then I duplicated it several times and kept a copy of the original. And then I filled them in with text. Simple. It looks great. That's what I think, at least. Now it's your turn. Make an initial plan for how you want to organize your notes into notebooks, sections, and pages. Again, it may change later, but start with something rather than nothing. You may have to try different things and then reorganize if it doesn't feel right. But in any case, it's probably worthwhile to reflect on what your needs are and how you can best satisfy them. Last little trick. I like my notebooks to look simple and clean and minimal, with just a black front. But when flicking back and forth between books, it was of course impossible to distinguish one from another. So I created another template and wrote the book title. Here's how I did it. I first created a page, added a background, and created a mark for where the title should be, so that each title would be roughly in the same place. I duplicated the template, added text, and saved to camera roll. Set it to save with the background. Then I could set the image as cover image for my book. If you're a bit more colorful than me, you could also use different colors for distinguishing between work and personal. Maybe all workbooks have shades of blue on the cover, and all personal have shades of orange and red. I really love that 53 didn't try to decide for me how I should organize. Instead, I can use my creativity to make it exactly as I want it to be. So to sum it up, reflect on your needs for organization and use your creativity to hack the system to get the most optimal setup.